Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your webinar dealing with the impact of staff absence on learning. I'm Anthony McBride from Edcover, and I'll be your host for the next 25 minutes or so. I'm delighted that so many of you can join us this afternoon. I know that we've got people from individual schools, but also from trusts as well, so welcome to everybody. For my part, I do plan to be as succinct as possible. I'm really aware that you probably had a long day in school and you'll be looking forward to getting home and relaxing. It should really be quite straightforward because most of what I want to say today is shaped by experiences that most of us will have in common. We will have a whistle-stop tour of the Edcover platform. I'll also give you some information on how you can access a free trial of the platform should you like what you see today. I'm also conscious we're joined by some schools already using Edcover, so again, a very warm welcome to you, and I hope you find it useful as well. Before we get into any of that detail, just very, very quickly, I want to give you some background as to who we are, essentially, and what led us to create Edcover. So our organisation, based up here in Yorkshire, we've got a really proud history, actually, of creating some very groundbreaking software solutions for schools. So take, for example, the Haskell data toolkit. That was a huge help to secondary schools during the pandemic as they process their CAGs and tags. And I know we're also joined by some SMID users today. So 3 trusts, I believe, and some individual schools. So again, warm welcome to you. We are SMID, the wonderful Edcover support team based just next door. They're the very same individuals that support you guys with SMID. So that's our introduction. So let's move on then. So as former secondary school leaders themselves, the directors at Edcover, they were really familiar, all too familiar, with the negative connotation between cover lessons and learning. So for me, there's lots of evidence to confirm what is a pretty logical hypothesis there on the left-hand side of your screen. When there's a cover lesson, when the regular teacher's not there, usually, I know it's not always the case, but usually we see a dip in learning. And there are, of course, a number of contributory factors to this negative trend here on the right-hand side of your screen. None of these can be seen in isolation. Behaviour, for example, the top one. When we talk to schools, they'll often concede that, yes, by and large, during cover lessons, they do see a deterioration in behaviour. Research also tells us that there's an increase in the prevalence of serious incidents, call-outs, etc. And for me, this is inextricably linked to the second point there, the actual quality of work that's set for cover lessons. As educators, we know that our children will behave well when they're in a lesson worth behaving for. Next point, subject knowledge. I put that there, but actually it doesn't need to be a biggie, much of an issue at all, because I think back personally, I used to quite enjoy teaching, covering a lesson outside my subject specialism, providing, and it is a big providing, that the quality of the work set was as it should be, was worthwhile, was going to lead to a very worthwhile and deep learning experience for those children. Next, we've got consistency, and all I mean by that is, again, related to the previous points, if our pupils know that whenever they've got a cover lesson, it will be a good use of their time, well then, of course, they'll enter into that with the right mindset. And finally, succession. What I'm referring to here is the communication or lack of it, to be more specific, between the covering staff member and the absent teacher. And if we're honest, historically, it doesn't really happen unless there's a big issue, a negative issue, usually. But actually, if we consider this point, it is really, really important that the regular class teacher knows how that class has progressed in their absence, where to pick up with them, were there any misconceptions, is there anything to celebrate for that matter. So our challenge was to create a solution to combat all of this negative stuff, while if we could, simultaneously easing the burden on teachers, making things easier, more streamlined, and let's not forget cover managers as well. One of the aims was to reduce stress for cover managers. And one thing I've learned in this project, the role of cover manager can be incredibly stressful. Now, the result, I think, is a really modern one-stop solution that optimizes learning, promotes dialogue, gives leadership teams a really, really clear insight as to the efficacy of cover lessons in their school. But Edcover also provides insights into patterns and trends. I'm talking here about things like absence rates, reasons for absence, things like the proportion of external to internal cover provision, and of course that's got huge implications for school budgets. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it's really crucial that we do whatever we can to get this right, particularly when we consider that, typically a secondary school pupil, about 5% of their learning in any given year will be delivered through what we commonly deem, what we commonly call cover. So we are absolutely delighted that we seem to be getting it right. The schools that are using Edcover are telling us that we're getting it right. I picked two out here just to comment on very quickly. Lisbury High School there on the left-hand side, they told us very, very early on in their usage with Edcover that we found a notable improvement in the quality of work set for cover lessons. So that is wonderful to hear. And that, as I say, that was a tangible thing they could identify very, very early on. Similarly, we've got Hathershaw College there. They were absolutely blown away with the ease with which they were able to transition to Edcover and get rid of what they now seem recognise, rather, what they now recognise as outdated methods. So that brings us on to our platform. I want to give you a very quick whistle-stop tour. And again, if you like what you see, you can arrange a meeting where I can go through the platform in more depth with you. And again, a reminder that you're more than welcome to have that free trial of the platform so that you can see the benefits for yourself. So I'm just going to change my screen very quickly. So let's imagine that you've got Edcover in your school. It syncs with your MIS, whatever that MIS is. It could be Bromcom, ISAMS, SIMS, Arbor, the list goes on. It's a growing list. We sync with all the MISs. So what that means is it pulls through all your teacher timetables, class lists, etc., etc. And you'll see why that's helpful in a moment. So if I log in as a basic user, a teacher, the first screen that I get, you'll see, is very plain and very simple. Pretty much all a teacher can do is either set cover work here or search for it if they're covering a lesson. So let's set some work. Now, because it syncs with MIS, all our teachers are here. I'd be at the top of the list. That would make sense. But of course, it might well be the case that I've got to set some cover for a colleague. So take Amanda here. She's too poorly to do it for herself. Someone's asked me to set the cover for her. So here we go. Click on Amanda, and it just pulls through all her lessons for today. She's got 4. Now, of course, if Amanda were doing this herself, let's say it was a planned absence, she might be on a year 8 residential from here to here, and it'll go away and pick out, well, the 15 lessons that she's got to set cover for. And any of you that have ever set cover work will know that would take a heck of a long time, providing she's going to set quality cover lessons, of course. But let's stay with today. I'm going to do it for Amanda. We go to the next screen, which again is very, very intuitive. We can see there are 4 lessons, and we know there's no work set for them because there's a big red button telling us so. So let's do something about that. Add cover work. Next screen, it does give you a lesson plan. You don't have to use it if you don't want. You could get rid of that altogether. Just have a blank screen. Very often schools will ask us to upload a branded lesson pro forma, which of course isn't a problem. Now, if Amanda were doing this herself, certainly for a planned absence, she's probably got a pre-prepared lesson that she can just drop in here, make it look pretty with all these buttons across the top, perhaps drop a seating plan in here and any supporting materials. So dead easy. But I'm doing this for Amanda, and I haven't got a lot of time. So I'm going to use this button here in the top right of your screen. I think Amanda's actually a maths lesson, it's telling me. I'm certainly not a maths teacher. My background's RE. So I'm just going to use our AI assistant to create an RE cover lesson. I'm going to give it a very, very generic command. So So create for me a year eight, isn't it? Yeah, year 8 lesson on, well, it could be anything, but I'm just going to put Passover in. Now, if I click create lesson plan, I'm always blown away every time I do this with the speed with which our AI assistant creates my lesson and the quality of what it comes up with as well. So the beauty of this is that our developers they've done all the prompts for your teachers. So every time we use this, it comes up with a fantastic cover lesson that can be delivered, incidentally, from by a non-specialist. It always gives us 3 lovely options as well: a short video from YouTube to enrich the lesson, and as I said, we do say check the lesson, but it's always great. It's always really, really good stuff. So yeah, you don't have to worry about any misinformation or anything inappropriate either. But if I use all of that and just stick it across here, that literally takes me a few seconds. As I say, I'll probably get rid of a couple of videos and just use the middle one. I can actually remember that one from Prince of Egypt. It's brilliant. So once I'm happy with the lesson, I just save it and I go back to the next screen, the previous screen rather. And as you can see, we've done that now. We've got a nice tick and the work is set. 3 more to do, but it takes seconds. So massive, massive time saver for our teachers when they're going to be off, be it through sickness or a planned absence. So the flip side of that is I could be covering this lesson. Let's say you've told me I'm covering Amanda period 1. I would log in, I can find Amanda here. Here's the lessons for today. I click on period 1 and here's the lesson. So because it links with your MIS as well, we've got all our children down the left hand side. And if I am a permanent member of staff, I can actually see the sensitive information like who's SEN, etc. External supply would just have a list of names. And just on external supply, very often schools, when that is the case, they like to download the PDF and print it off as well as a bit of a backup. But, you know, if you've got external supply in, it's very, very quick and easy to just oh, apologies. Okay, you've got my cover, you've got my lesson now, you can see it. So what I was just saying there, if there's external cover in, very often schools will like to download the lesson and print it off for the supply teacher. But I think it's nice to try and move away from paper. I'm going to deliver the lesson from the board. It will go swimmingly, no discipline issues because the content's great. And somewhere towards the end, this is perhaps the most important part of what we do, I think, at Edcover. We've got this very, very quick, streamlined feedback loop. So you as a school can ask whatever questions you want. You can ask up to 4. I've just given you 2 examples there. How well was the work completed? To what extent was it completed? And what was ATL like? And we've also got a means of communication between myself and Amanda. So it might be that, you know, she might want to revisit something with a particular pupil, whatever it might be. So when I'm happy with that feedback, I just send it. And that little feedback loop there, that rating, answering the questions that you as an SLT determine, that then feeds into some really, really clever data that I'll show you now. So that's it from a teacher perspective, dead simple. So if I just flip from teacher view to admin view, we can do everything that we've just done there in terms of setting and searching for cover work, but we've got some extra buttons across the top. We've also got the analytics. So the questions that we've asked, and as I said earlier on, you can ask up to 4. They are plotted for you. We can print these as a PDF, a nice report perhaps for governors. But what we've got here is a collation of the evidence to say we as a school, we take what happens in a cover lesson seriously. We're trying to make them as good as they can be, and here's the evidence. Also, we've got some really useful tools. So, you know, this tool, we can see the number of staff absences and the proportion of external staff used compared to internal provision. So if it's a thing that, you know, there's a month where we've used a heck of a lot of external staff, we can investigate that and discuss it, and obviously we can help reduce on that, and it can enrich our discussions around budgetary planning as well. A couple of other things to mention. So on the analytics as well, we can actually go into things in great depth. So if we look at Amanda in particular, you know, we can see all her lessons. Every time she was off last year, how were they rated? We can have a look at when she was sick, what were the reasons? Okay, you know, it tells us if it's sickness or other, and you've got a record of that there. When she was off, did she provide cover? Well, on a couple of occasions she didn't. They're the red ones. So you can have a delve into things like that as well. And also faculty leads, heads of department, you get a lovely view of what's happening in your department on a given day, in a given week. So lastly, cover managers love this view. So every morning, a cover manager down the left hand side, you've got all the cover lessons there, and if they're not green, something needs doing. So we want to see this green button here. So once they're all green, your job is done. And what else did I want to show you? Yeah, manage users. So here's where we can, for example, create an account for an external supply teacher who might be in for the day. It might be that Amanda was off with stress, so we've switched notifications off for her. We don't want to hearing anything from Edcover, and when she comes back, of course, we can just switch that back on. So that, as promised, has been a really whistle-stop tour of the Edcover platform, but it's very, very intuitive. We are always here to talk to schools and support. But all I want to do now really is thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and remind you that you do qualify by virtue of your attendance today for that 1 month free trial of Edcover. So thank you so much for joining us. We do hope to speak to you in the near future. Take care.